I'll admit it, this week, I think I overlooked one key visitor that should be here this weekend.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm Zac Blackerby. Thanks for being here, making it your first listen or your second listen today. All right, Big Cat Weekend, obviously upon us. And there's one guy that I wanted to hop back on here for a quick bonus episode because we didn't really mention him at all this week, and that was a major miss on our part here at Locked On Auburn. Of the several folks that are reported to be here for Big Cat Weekend, Alex Golsh's first Big Cat Weekend, Jeremiah Culpepper, the linebacker from LaGrange, Georgia, just down the road, we didn't mention him. And this is a big-time player and a big-time visitor, and we need to talk about this kid a little bit. Jeremiah Culpepper, like I said, Troup County from LaGrange. I mean, this is a kid who's been on campus a bunch, which makes sense, right? 45 minutes down the road. Sure, that time change might get you, but he's been here a good bit. And just seeing, a lot of the folks on the recruiting side of the Auburn beat talking about, the important guys. I'm like, gosh, Jeremiah Culpepper keeps popping up. Wasn't super familiar with him. Dug a little bit. It's like, no, I could see why. This is a really, really good player and a really, really good linebacker. Off-ball linebacker, 6'2", 205. I mean, he plays pretty big. I think they'll probably add a little bit more weight to him. I'm not going to say he's Elijah Melendez, but when I watch him, I think of like a thumper, and that's what I thought Elijah Melendez was going to be looking at his high school tape. Obviously, he is far more than that, but I'm just thinking about the way we watched him in high school. Not the tallest guy, but big, a thick linebacker who looks for contact and is really, really good at diagnosing the play early. Now, granted, a lot of the stuff that we're able to look at is highlights, sure, just to the nature of huddle and all of that, but really solid first step as far as diagnosing where he needs to be to get to the football. All the snaps I saw was him off ball, not like any outside alignment or anything, like just a true box thumper type linebacker. And that's what he's being asked to do at Troup County. We'll see what that looks like, this year for him. And then, of course, also how these kids translate to the next level. I mean, if we could see another guy take a step like Elijah Melendez does, which at this point, if DJ Durkin's still at Auburn, like, why doubt that? Every linebacker that steps foot in his room takes a dramatic step, even transfers. When you look at what Xavier Atkins has done. So an athletic player, but there's a lot of really good athletic linebackers. I think Jeremiah Culpepper, with what we've been able to see so far, is pretty instinctive. And I think with the coaching of DJ Durkin, I can see clearly why Auburn wants him and hopefully why he's at Auburn a ton when he's doing his visits. But of course, Auburn's not the only one that wants a kid like this. 4-star player, official visit lined up to LSU in 2 weeks, May 29th. The following week, an official to Virginia Tech on June 5th. Ole Miss June 12th. Texas, they also have Texas for June 12th, so I'm not sure how that plays out on his 247 page. But then expected to take an official visit to Auburn on June 19th. So I think Jeremiah Culpepper certainly a name to watch. Love the first step. Love the instinctiveness. Love that he's here all the time. Hopefully staying close to home is important to him because obviously Auburn is way closer than all of those other schools. Georgia doesn't appear to be in the mix, so maybe that could help Auburn a ton. But I like Jeremiah Culpepper's tape from what I've been able to see. And after kind of digging, I'm like, yeah, I needed to hop on and talk about Jeremiah Culpepper just a little bit for sure. One other name that we have mentioned this week, but I do want to mention a little bit more just because of the importance of the position. That's next right here on Locked on Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Rocket money. If you ever had blah, blah, let's start that over again. If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills, it can get overwhelming fast. And that's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances in one place. It can track subscriptions as well as kind of put them all in one place and be like, oh, I'm paying $2 for that, or I'm paying for 2 of these subscriptions, or wow, I'm still paying for that. I haven't used that service in 6 months, or, I don't know. Just when we did it and we kind of had them all lined up, it kind of put in perspective, like, maybe we don't need all 6 streaming services. So it helps with that. It also helps you categorize your spending and kind of say, okay, I need to get better in these areas. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That is rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Before I get into the other player that we're going to discuss just for a few minutes today, want to highlight that the plan is to go live after every baseball game the rest of the way. So Georgia tonight, Georgia tomorrow afternoon/early evening, SEC tournament next week, and then of course regional, hopefully super regional, and hopefully Omaha in the coming weeks. So be sure to tune in on that. We went live last night to recap the loss. Hopefully there's better news to discuss after the games tonight and tomorrow as Auburn hosts Georgia for the final regular season series. Marquis Evans, MJ Evans, Spain Park High School in Birmingham, 6'3", 6'4", depending on where you look, 235 pounds. And it looks like he plays a little bit bigger than 235 pounds, which we'll absolutely take, because that's not me saying that he plays slow. It's just, this seems like a physical edge defender. And a lot of what you see when you look at his tape is similar to how DJ Durkin's defense uses a buck at a strong side end and passing downs when they typically stand those guys up. And I think that's something to take away and say, like, yeah, that front and what they like to do, it's really similar. Now, it's hard to play edge in any conference in the P4, but definitely in the SEC. I do think there are some things that he's going to have to do developmentally before he gets on the field, but that's any edge. And so when you look at MJ Evans, Marquis Evans from Birmingham, 4-star player, I'm kind of excited to see, all right, Auburn needs to rebuild that edge room. And some of the edge room is kind of up in the air when you talk about the future of it. Like Nate Johnson, who we haven't talked about at all, Chris Murray, like those guys will be out of eligibility. Deshaun Womack is interesting. If the NCAA passes that 5-for-5 rule or 5-in-5 rule, he should have another year of eligibility. Of course, Jared Smith, Joe Phillips, JJ Falk, Jaquez Wilkes, Chris Wells, they'll all have the opportunity to come back. Of course, there's the caveat of the portal and all, but they'll have eligibility left. But let's go ahead and start building in behind them. And there hasn't been a ton of talk of, edge guys. There are some guys that you could scoot out to strong side end. When you talk about, like a Donovan Moore, who's already in this class, I think he's going to play 3-tech, but he could certainly scoot out to strong side end depending on what they do regarding his weight. But yeah, MJ Evans, I think he's important just because of his position alone. And I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'll be very clear on that. But I do think just his position alone makes him important, and he is a good player. And when you look at who's pursuing him, he's got an official visit to Miami coming up at the end of the month on the 29th. The following week, he'll be back at Auburn on June 5th. And then for an official, and then goes to Florida on June 11th. So, that's a big time recruitment. Anytime you can win a top player in the Birmingham area, you certainly take it. But wanted to hop on here and make sure I give Jeremiah Culpepper some love and also inform you guys on how important that is. I missed the mark there. I apologize. But then MJ Evans, Marquis Evans from Spain Park. I just wanted to kind of spend an extra few minutes on him too, just because I think that's an important recruitment. And of course, that takes its next step this weekend as Alex Golesh hosts his first ever Big Cat weekend at Auburn. If anything breaks, we'll do our best to hop on here as soon as possible and go live and post it on audio right after. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But I don't think it's going to be that kind of weekend. I think it's going to be a weekend where this staff continues to develop relationships and collect information, both about what's important to the kid, as far as how the kid operates. And then I think when the officials really get going over the next 4 or 5 weeks, I think you might see the staff push for a little bit more commitments. But this weekend, I'd be pleasantly surprised if something happened. I'm not counting on it, but we'll certainly see. But I'm not holding my breath. But if it does, we'll be here. So please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.